Hey everybody, Wakia here. This is the third time I did this video because I got construction going on around me here. I won't even go into that. Just send me some prayers, will you? I'm going to talk about totem animals. Start off with the squirrel. Nat said something about squirrels being neurotic, so I'd start with that. They're not neurotic. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're just excitable. Half of us are neurotic anyway, right? I wish I was a squirrel. They got it together. And I go to the park often and I look at the red-tailed squirrels out there running around. Sometimes I'll sit there, on the grass, laying there on my stomach, just checking them out. Incredible critters. And they meditate too. So let's start off with squirrels meditate. You ever seen them sit like little Buddha monks up there on their hind haunches? And they'll sit there for a long, long time, trust me. And they're meditating. They might chew a little, but they're meditating and they're real still and they're calm, and it's like they look like part of the tree or something, or the ground. You wouldn't even notice they're there. So squirrels meditate, number one. And squirrels are smart. They're extremely smart because in the summertime they just gather enough food to eat, and then when it comes wintertime they store up food. That's, if you're looking at things from a traditional tribal way, you look at the squirrel as a survivor. Okay, you can learn a lot of lessons. Squirrel medicine. They store up for rainy days no matter what, and they store it in their little den under the ground. And they mate like rabbits. You should see them go at it. You should see them play. They have fun with love, okay, with mating. They're territorial. They know where their own territory is exactly, and they don't like others encroaching upon it. They are not defenseless. If you think that, you're liable to be in big trouble. Those red-tailed squirrels, the red squirrel gets big and they bound around. Now, as a tracker, if you look at tracks, you'll see their tracks are very unique because the front paws are there, and then the back paws come up between the front paws, okay? And then they spring off of their back paws or their hind legs. And so you get this pattern of front, back on the ground. Looks like the back legs are coming before the front legs. And they spring, boop, boop, boop. And they will go about a foot, maybe more if they want to, as they spring across, the landscape. And you might think, well, that's kind of a funny way to get around. Well, that's their slow mode, okay? Now, if they kick it up a notch or 7 notches, I say, they can haul ass really quick across the terrain, whoosh, okay? Because they put one leg in front of the other and run, okay? They can run, and they can run like lightning. So they can cover a lot of ground, or they can just boop, 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 spring along and look around and see what they're trying to do, or they'll go up a tree really fast. I mean, they can go up a tree really fast. You just see bark flying, or they'll just hang on the side of the tree and look at you, okay? Or if you're riding a bike, they'll dart out in your path right in front of you and just barely miss your front wheel, and they know exactly what they're doing. They got it together. I wish I was a squirrel sometimes. Life would be easier. And that's a good totem animal to have because it represents survival. Just like a prepper, stores stuff up and knows his community, and they love each other, and they have communities, and they can take care of you. And if you don't think a red squirrel can take care of itself, sometimes I talk to him, and I give him shit. And they come up and like look at me, and their tail's vibrating. Okay, and it's like all of a sudden I feel this energy, like, whoa, what's that thing gonna do now? What's that little critter gonna do now? Is it gonna run up the front of my body and cling onto my face and chew on my nose? It could, very easily. They've been known to, although that's not a normal practice of theirs. If they feel threatened, though, you might be in deep shit. Now, they're small, but they move quick and they got sharp claws, okay? But they normally are not that way. They're friendly, they're quiet, they may look neurotic. Oh, I got a kick out of that, really, actually. They may look neurotic, and, because they move around a lot, and they turn their head real quick, and they do a lot of things that might seem that way, but they know exactly what they're doing, okay? And that would be a good totem animal to have, because it represents survival and storing up and being frugal and having fun. They seem to have a lot of fun. I've seen them get into little fights and little games and just have fun, rolling around, on the grass, mating a lot. That's fun. Okay, and then so let's go to that's one animal. I just started off with that because it was mentioned. Then you got the crow, you got the winged creatures, and the red-tailed hawk. Let's talk about the crow. The crow's a guardian. The crow's a warner, harbinger of not doom, but just warning. Okay, and they warn everybody all the time. Wah, wah, wah. They're up in the trees, and you think they're irritating you, but they're really trying to tell you, hey, there's a guy down the block, and he looks kind of shady, and he's coming your way. So crows are, they'll pick out a pole, the tallest telephone pole or the tallest tree or whatever, and just sit there and squawk, squawk, squawk at everything that comes by that looks threatening to them. And sometimes everything looks threatening to them, but they at least let you know when people are coming. If you were out in the wilderness, you'd be thankful for a crow if some bad guy was sneaking up on you. Tribal people learn to listen to the animals and live in harmony and tune with them and one with them. Okay? And that's why crows will go after they warn everybody of everything. They even warn other animals. They'll even go after a red-tailed hawk cruising around up there looking for a meal. They'll squawk at them and they'll attack them in 3, 4 at a time. And the red-tailed hawk, which is my totem, just kind of does a barrel roll or does this little magnificent turn in the sky and lays on its back and then dives down, then comes back up, and the crows are all like, wow, where'd he go? They're a magnificent flying creature, the red-tailed hawk, and they're the guard. They're another kind of guardian, only they see the big picture. They're way up there, okay? Way, way up there, looking at the whole landscape. And they carry your prayers to Grandfather if they're your totem, or if you recognize them as such. They'll appear for you whenever you want them to, whenever you really need them. So say like I think the first time I ever had a real encounter and they became my totem was one time I was making a medicine wheel a long time ago on the ground with rocks in a fire pit, and saying some prayer and doing some ritual, and all of a sudden, boom, 2 or 3 hawks showed up, flying over my head, around in circles. And I went, okay. And I knew that they carried, the winged ones, especially the hawks, carry messages to Grandfather, or prayers. So I said a prayer, and then they flew away. I tell people this, and they go, yeah, right. And I go, you don't believe me? I've had people not believe me, and then have them come and do a little ritual with me, and boom, they'll fly, like one will come out of nowhere and fly right down above my head, showering a blessing with its wings, whoosh, 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 whoosh. And the person's with me is just like, huh? You know. Last time that happened, I was with a woman, and I was telling her, hey, you know, this is what happens, and it did happen. And so the power of animals and the power that of, you know, the reason that we should hook up with them and have reverence for them, the four-leggeds and the winged ones, okay, is because they're powerful. Why do you think all the Hopi clans and had the, you know, the Badger clan and the Bear clan and the Snake clan and the Flute clan? Oh, that's not an animal. But anyway, that's why. Because they realize the significance and lessons that animals have to teach us. Okay? It's a beautiful thing. Too bad that nature's so screwed up right now that we can't get in touch with. We can see birdies out in the tree, and we can hear the, you know, the morning blue jay or whatever, and enjoy their songs. Or, you know, we like to see the hummingbirds come, and with the feeders that we put out, some of us, and we have reverence for these things because it's the spirit that moves in all things. Okay? It's part of the spirit that moves in all things. And so, if we partake of that spirit that moves in all things, we see our relevance and our connection to it. Like yesterday, I was out in the park and I went into my splatter vision where everything turns into patterns. And I get down on my stomach sometimes and I just crawl like a crab, you know, and I look real closely at things, ants, bugs, the roots in the trees, all this stuff. Then I get up and I just look at the leaves as patterns, and I go into this state of mind where I'm like totally out of body almost. But I'm super sensitive and super aware of everything that goes around me, the spirit that moves in all things. And so when you tune into that, you're on this level of like where mankind isn't. The majority of mankind is not on this level of totem animals, having a totem animal, having reverence for animals. No, they go out and hunt them and kill them and slaughter them and build houses and subdivisions out where the cougars are so that when one comes by and wonders what's going on, they kill it and stuff like that. So I wanted to do this video on something fun, okay, because I usually come on here and rail away about the world conditions. It's like you know, for 2 days now, I've been just deleting all the emails about that kind of stuff. I'll read a little bit, but for the most part, anything that comes up that I've subscribed to is part of my intel. I just look at it with disgust because I'd rather talk about things like this. I'd rather talk about nature. Even if I can't be in it, I might as well impart some knowledge about it. And I've taught people how to track. I've taught people how to go into splatter vision. And I haven't heard one comment from any of you people about, yeah, I've been practicing that and it's really awesome, or it's really something that has changed my life. So I taught a couple of techniques, splatter vision and being in presence, and some meditation techniques, and just some techniques to help you in everyday life tune into nature more. You can go back and look at some of the titles of some of my videos. I'm sure it's on there. But I wanted to, that comment about the squirrel got me going here. I think I'll talk about squirrels, because I was thinking, man, what am I going to talk about? Because I really don't want to go on here and talk about anything anymore. I don't want to talk about any of the world situation. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to, I know that sounds opposite of what I've been saying. Everybody should wake up. Well, I'm awake. Is everybody else? Evidently not. And the thing that gets me is nature trumps all of this. And that's the thing that's being, everybody's turning their back on the most. Nature knows how to nurture you. So you should try to get next to it as much as possible, or talk about it, or connect with it. Because that's the only thing that's real. I mean, do you think that a squirrel is going to lead you down the garden path? No pun intended. But do you think a squirrel's going to lie to you? Or do you think a bear or a coyote or a wolf or a bird? Or you think they are what they are? Which reminds me of an incident when I was practicing a mental shapeshift into my totem animal, which can actually manifest on a physical level, change your molecular structure even, because shape-shifting is entirely possible. I was out doing one of those kind of meditations one day about the red-tailed hawk, and I was putting out energy of the red-tailed hawk, and I was becoming the red-tailed hawk. And as I was doing this, as I was sitting there in this remote place in the park where nobody else was, that I picked out so I could be alone, which is hard. It was way off and outside the fringes. As I was getting into this consciousness of the red-tailed hawk, one came down, knew I was there, just like I said before, swooped down from maybe 1,000 feet into this dive, got its food, whatever it was so quick I couldn't even see, to be truthful with you, whether it was another bird or it was some kind of critter, okay? Another critter. And it swooped down with its talons and just got that thing and went right to a bush and just started in on it, ripping it apart. And I went, wow. It was almost like it was telling me, well, you want to be a red-tailed hawk? Well, let's see if you can do this, It was beautiful, really. I took it as like, wow, this is a message. And then later on, some came flying around me, and I did a little ritual, and I said, take a prayer to Grandfather, and they took a prayer for me. This is how things work when you're in tune with the spirit that moves in all things. And people think, oh man, that's really weird. I don't know if I believe you, or I don't know if... Well, they can believe it or not. I don't really care. When you go out and you start tuning into nature and the spirit that moves in all things, that puts you a cut above of wherever you are in this false illusion, this plasticville that we call society. It's way beyond that, people. Way, way, way beyond that. It's the only truth there is. None of these things are going to lie to you. None of them is going to take you down a garden path. They might eat you, but hey, they don't lie. They are what they are. You don't want to come face to face with a grizzly, okay, or anything like that. That's really, they really do. They what's the word I'm looking for here? The phrase. They demand respect, okay? Reverence, just like a mountain lion or a cougar or anything. Can't tell you how many people are eaten by them that aren't ready for it. But see, if you're in tune with it, you know right where they are. If you're a tracker, you're out there, you know right where they're lurking. You see sign, you stay away from, you keep a healthy distance. So I thought, I'm having kind of a hard enough time in my life right now with people encroaching upon my space and double dealing the deck on me, and there's a lot of people that are black-hearted people that don't care about their fellow man, that are doing things to me and others that are unspeakable. And I won't go into it because everybody has their own thing and their own problems, and dealing with society, dealing with hateful people, dealing with all the crap we see around us. A guy said, that last video I did, some guy came on and said, there's more truth in what you said than in the university library. And I went, wow. Thank you. I don't know if that's true, but it's a nice sentiment. Maybe it's just refreshing to hear people speak from the heart. I don't know. But I just, it's hard for me to deal with stupidity, and it's hard for me to deal with hatefulness, and it's hard for me to deal with all the stuff I'm seeing now. Confusion, mass confusion, okay? Mass confusion, mass lies, mass everything. Everything that's bad, or everything that's a preponderance of, shall we say, out of balance in the world is just like, it's getting so intense that I'd rather talk to you people about fun things and good things and maybe get your mind off that stuff. Trust me, just going 2 days or a day or whatever without getting all hung up in all that garbage, that toxic shit is what it is. Might as well go to the privy, okay? Like in the old days. That wasn't a pleasant experience. It was either the bushes or a wood hole, a hole in a piece of wood inside a little shack, okay? We're so spoiled today. We are so far away from the true reality of what's really happening. We're so far away from nature. We're so far away from the spirit that moves in all things. We're so dependent, okay, on the illusion of life, not the real life, the illusion of life, that if we were thrown out with the spirit that moves in all things in the wilderness, would we survive? Got to ask yourself that. And you got to ask yourself, well, maybe I wouldn't, but do I even think about it? Do I even think about the creatures and the critters and the love that I have for the planet, and forget, whether one country is going to do this or one country is going to do. We know that it's all a game. It's all a big game, and I don't care what country it is. One might be the lesser evil than the other. Agreed. I'll agree on that. But they're all corrupt because they're all living by the same standard, and that standard is financial. Okay? It's about money. It's about resources. It's about land. Not the spirit that moves in all things, not having reverence, because if they had reverence for the spirit that moves in all things, they'd have compassion for their fellow man, compassion for animals, compassion for Mother Earth. And they would say the prayer, grandfather, grandmother, Sapa Luta Gyo Gagaska. Wakantanka Tankashila, Maka Mother Earth. We revere you. That's how they would feel. And all living things that walk upon the face of you. And that's not happening, people. I got news for you, it's not happening at all. So I want to talk about nice things, squirrels. Not the squirrels in Washington, that's a different breed. That's not even a squirrel, that's a snake. They actually give snakes a bad name. Snakes are actually good. That's another good animal, you know. The Hopi used them all the time in their dances, the snake priests. And see, that's an idea. Let's just give a couple of rattlesnakes to these people and train them how to do a Hopi snake dance, holding the snake in their mouth without it biting them. If it doesn't bite them, then I guess they're cool. If it does, then c'est la vie. Anyway, I guess I'll kind of leave it there today because I don't want to get sidetracked off here into talking about useless BS. Okay. Just know that I come on here. I tried 3 times to do this video today. This is the 3rd time. Couldn't even get it out because of the circumstances I'm going through. So this was kind of a hard one to get out. It was hard to make time for it. It was hard to find a quiet time. It was hard to not be interrupted or disturbed by anything. And see, that's the thing, you know, that's the thing with nature is when you're out in nature, it's noiseless in a way. There's no noise. The only noises are pleasant to your ears. The birds, the wind blowing in the trees, the smell of the air, the mesquite or the palo verde or the cypress tree or the grass or the wet earth or the babbling brook. All that stuff is healing, is healthful, is good. I wish I could find a place like that. I'm stuck in the city. Lord have mercy. Grandfather, grant me some kind of blessing. And you people out there, I could use your prayers right now. Send them my way, and I'll send some your way. Because I know we're all so far away from the reality of what's really real. I mean, the real deal, the Mother Nature and that whole thing. And being self-sufficient on our own little plot of land or whatever. So far away from it. I wish it would all come down. I pray that it all comes down. I don't care if I have to perish during the process, because it's not just about me, it's about renewal. And you see that in the spirit that moves in all things, and in the animals, and in the trees, and the, you know. Ever notice how a tree doesn't worry and lives a long, long time? Doesn't worry about what it's going to do the next day or what's going to happen to it the next day. It just is. It's just there. And if the wind comes up, it bends with the wind. It blows. And the leaves rattle, and a bough might break once in a while, but the tree's got those roots in. It's got to be a pretty strong wind to uproot it. So that's what we have to be, people. We have to be like a tree, okay? And bend with the wind. And kind of stay in that ageless state of mind. And we have to be like the mountain that's Inyan. They call the mountain, they call rock Inyan in Lakota. Solid, okay? Still, meditative. Been there a long time, will be there a long time to come. Some trees in the redwoods live to be hundreds and hundreds of years old. Even the turtle and the parrot. So what are we doing wrong, people? Well, we're not tuning into the spirit that moves in all things. Okay? And we're concentrating on all the chaos and all the toxic energy that's around us, and it's hard to escape it. So you have to force yourself to go outside and stand next to a tree or something. Even if you're in the city, go to the park, stand next to a tree, go down by the ocean, do something. And pray to Great Spirit that something's going to happen here soon that's going to turn all this around, because I don't see any other way. I don't see any other way of it turning around. There's no possible way this is going to turn around unless it's a natural occurrence. And that is God. That is the spirit that moves in all things, is God, Goddess, all that is. Okay? And when the shit hits the fan, I just hope that we're all in tune with that, and it, that has some kind of, I'll tell you one thing, a tree knows when you're talking to it, and an animal knows when you're talking to it, and it has reverence for you. And it'll come up to you. Squirrels come right up to you. And birds have come right up to me. Hawks, red-tailed hawks. And wind has changed, and weather has changed when I'm in the right frame of mind and I ask for it in a reverent manner. And so if you can bring about the winds of change through your reverence, that's what we need to do, people. We need to tap into Tate, the wind, and Skan, and Inyan, and everything. So anyway, I'll leave it there today. Good thoughts to you all, pleasant thoughts. May you come from the one eye of the heart, Chante Ishte. This is Thunder. Walk the red road, and adios till next time.